Hello, I'm OmnusI, your game master this evening here in my lair. Hello, friends. Welcome once more to the Lair of OmnusI. I am OmnusI, here with yet another question from the RPG Brigade. This is the 15th day, and I am answering the 15th question, which is, which RPG do you enjoy adapting the most? Generally, my practice is to use the rules as written as often as possible in the interest of experiencing the game the way the author designed the game. I know people who enjoy house ruling, and as soon as they get a set of rules, they immediately start frankensteining them to their taste. Which is fine. Absolutely. Rule 0 applies always. If the rules don't work for you, make them work somehow. Ignore what bothers you and adapt what you need to. The thing is, I generally am pretty accommodating for most rules that I've come to. There aren't a great number of them that I've ever had that great of an umbrage that I felt I needed to change and alter and rip out. With Dungeons & Dragons and its iterations, I have made critical hit and critical fumble tables. That's about as much adapting as I've done. There are optional rules that I've taken out and thrown out. For example, giving experience for gold value was so essential in the old days, but I got rid of that. Actually, fairly early on, I've thrown out the experience table almost entirely in most cases until recently. This latest 5th edition, it's not too difficult. But generally what I focus on is how much experience do the players need to get to the next level? How much work did they do in this particular session to get them to that point? And once you have an idea on that, you have a pretty good idea of how much experience to give. So for example, if they need 30,000 experience to get to the next level, and they fought a couple of iron golems in a tough fight that wiped out the fighters to half their hit points, and then there was an encounter that made the wizards lose most of their spells, and they had some good role playing. I might give them a third of their experience that they need, 10,000 experience each that night, to reward them for all the work they did. Back in the day, I used to and do this math, do this math, do this math. The whole time while I'm pretending to maths, I'm actually thinking to myself what reward is appropriate to them for what they've done. Because rarely does math work perfectly to reward players for role-playing and clever thinking and things like that. And humor and all the other things that I enjoy rewarding at a game. I would say probably the one I've adapted the most has been Dungeons & Dragons. But that's not the question, is it? It's which one do you enjoy adapting the most? Dungeons & Dragons, those kind of things are like taking something that you enjoy, a nice work that you yourself have made, and then using some sandpaper and rubbing off the rough spots to make it even better, to make it more comfortable, more convenient. That's the changes that I made to Dungeons & Dragons. I would say as far as adapting for enjoyment, I would say that GURPS to me is the most tinkerable set of rules that are out there. With so many of the rules being optional, to finding exactly just what the right set of rules for what you want to do involves, there's a bit of artistry to it. It's not like being a mechanic where you're just doing oil changes and, taking and replacing a muffler here and there. It's about engineering and designing and getting it. It's more like a car designer, architect who figures out how will this particular rule work to the way I want my flavor of my game to work. Do I want to run a highly tactical, precise game where I track every second what each player character is doing getting his precisely one swing and reaction in that second, and moving everything along at a very precise clip to be as realistic as possible? Or, as in most games, do I eschew a certain amount of realism to try to be more accommodating to the cinematic approach to role-playing? And finding that balance there, like I said, it's kind of art. If I used every single rule in the game, it would slow things down to a crawl. It would be very satisfying knowing that your character got the rewards of doing and using all of his skills and abilities. Sure, there is that. But at the same time, you are slowing things down with all the extra rules. You are encumbering the players with extra things they have to keep in mind. And generally speaking, I've never run anything that precise. I like to round off the rough edges a little bit. And rarely do I do more than just glance at a chart here and there. A lot of times, if, say, they are going to take their 17 gun skill and aim at something 50 meters away with a long rifle without bothering to aim, generally a -2 to your shot because you're just going to snapshot, is appropriate. If they're not very far away, you can easily fire that distance with accuracy, so just about a -2 to your skill. You still have to roll 3d6 and get under a 15. That's, your character is really good with a gun. You should probably be able to hit at that distance if the opponent doesn't somehow get out of the way of it. So that's generally the game that I enjoy adapting the most, by choosing the rules that I wish to use and for tinkering with how I want to play it. One of the things I am looking forward to is the Kickstarter for Dungeon Fantasy, which is going to be a streamlined set of rules. So it's going to basically be plug and play at the level that generally I prefer to use it. And with already streamlined things for fantasy, I think it'll be a lot of fun. So, looking forward to that. So, that's my answer to this question. I am OmnusI here in the Lair of OmnusI once more, and I am wishing you safe adventures.